right, everybody. Message Center announcements for January 8th, the big 2024. Be honest with you, it was interesting as I was kind of going through this, especially on the things that have changed side of, like, it was announced a few months ago and it changed. I want to say at least 90% of the changes were all on Teams service and things that had been said, yes, we're going to do it, but now we're not going to do it except a little later. Those types of things. So you're going to see that when we get to the updated content or updated Message Center posts. But all in all, again, a lot of Teams focused stuff because there's a lot of activity on that side of things. But I threw in a couple other things that hopefully are relevant as well for this month. The first thing is we're going to start off with Viva Learning. One of the things that is coming out here, already started for some of you, and you're getting it through mid-January, is the ability to add tagging of your content that you put into Viva Learning. If you guys don't remember about Viva Learning, this is our internal, through the Viva platform, the ability to be able to have different learning opportunities, modules that people can then take and bringing in other content from other services or applications. And then surfacing that into Teams and making it easier to be able to get that and then publish it out to individuals if needed. All right, so then being able to add these tagging of your contents around interest and the ability to be able to download that metadata and take it offline to analyze it or to be able to make changes to it and update it. So that's coming out. Make sure you notify your end users of some of these changes, especially those who are then tagging it and making changes to it in your system. We did have some updates in Stream, and we're talking about the new version of Stream, not the classic version of Stream. There is ability to be able to block that download experience, and that's been in there for just a little bit, but it was kind of cumbersome to get at it. So they're making updates to it. So the targeted release has already been out there. Those who are not in targeted, standard was starting here in December and finishing here early in January. And it's just the ability for somebody to be able to view a video, but not necessarily download it. You might want to be able to block that, right? Just making it a little bit easier to do that. So you can see that in the screenshots there, the ability to say can't download, that's going to be an option when you're setting that up from a sharing side of things. Also in streaming, you may see this happening again mid-December through January here. You may see that when you're in Stream and you are an owner, right, or you have the right to edit a particular video, by default, when you go in there, it's just going to be the view version, and you have to go in and hit a button to say, I want to be able to edit this particular video, right? That would be title, description, chapters, transcript, whatever that happens to be. But by default, you go in there, it's going to be view only, and then you can make that edit as needed. So you can kind of see what it's going to look like and then jump back and forth if you need to, but then it allows you so you don't accidentally make some changes before that you want to. So that's happening here again, already starting to happen as we speak. On the Teams side of things, a few of these updates have been happening. Number one, the ability to be able to share a contact is coming here, starting targeted mid-January to late January, and then standard from early February to early February to late February should be the case. And so what's happening with this is, as you go in and start typing an at mention, you're going to see an option where you're going to be able to say, share someone's contact information. And what that's going to do is it's going to take their profile information and plop it in there so you're getting the right person, especially if there might be a lot of Ben Johnsons in your company, then you get the right one. So it just helps out with that particular side of things. So Jake is asking a question back on the Stream side of things. If the Stream block download can be done at the folder level or is it the file level? I believe it's actually at the video level, Jake, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's part of the surfaces at that particular level. And it depends upon how you have it set up. I don't think it's going to be, I don't think it's going to be at the folder level. All right. Now, I don't know about you, but maybe quick raise of hands. How many are giving access to others outside of your organization? So it's called external access for Microsoft Teams. just throw your hand up, or no, not a hand up, get the thumbs up or whatever, just to see how many are out there. Yeah, there's a few of you. Okay. So guess what? This is going to help you. You're going to actually get some analytics. So starting here, targeted release early January to mid-January, and standard will get late January to early February. What's going to happen is that you're going to get some basic analytics for your external users. You're going to be able to see total number of internal and external users using that access, right? So you may have a team set up to be able to do that, right? And then who's in there from internal, and then who's actually doing it from there. And then you're going to be able to see usage, right? As well as what domains they are coming from for those external users. So I think this is some really good information that you want to share out, especially for owners, for those particular that's going on. You get, as admins, then you have this ability to be able to get that information from TAC. And TAC being Teams Admin Center. All right. Immersive spaces went general availability will happen here. It's actually happening right now through the end of this month. And if you're not familiar with this immersive spaces, this is that next step of you have an avatar and you're using that in your meetings, but yet other people have avatars. And wouldn't it be great if you actually went into a virtual environment and everybody, accessibility is available, everything's going on there, and then you're able to actually meet. That's what this immersive environment is, right? It's a combination of Mesh and Teams meeting together, and you then can have this meeting. I've actually played around with it. It's pretty interesting what you can do with it and interact with people. And again, it doesn't have to be like this, right? It gives you that more of a one-on-one type feeling, so that even if you're hybrid, or fully remote, it still feels like you're a part of that experience. Notice some things in here. It will work with Teams on Windows PC as well as the MetaQuest VR gear. And then there's some licenses that it kind of calls out in the Message Center, what you need. Classic Team is not supported. It has to be News Teams. As you kind of know, that's coming up here around the corner at the end of March. But if this is something you guys are deploying, make sure everybody knows what's going on with that and, update them. All right. Another thing that you're going to start seeing here, if you're in targeted, you may see already in early January, mid-January, standard mid-January to late January, is this flyout window settings that are going to be coming. So exactly for this particular meeting, before I jumped on, I was able to go into my flyouts and double check my settings for my camera and my microphone to make sure everything was ready to go, so that as soon as I hit the camera button and the mic button, everything was really set. And that's really, it's a quick access, right? It's a change in the UI, so I can quickly access it, adjust things without having to go to the panel, which is on the right-hand side, and then be able to have to fuddle with that, right? So this is just easy access to those things that you need from a camera and microphone perspective. Please let people know about this in your organization, because it's just be time saver overall. And then you're going to be able to do some things with your activity cards. You have more control over what you want to be able to see. And I don't know about you, but I've been seeing things like, oh, I'm getting invites in there as well. So if I get an invite, or if somebody forwarded something, I'm starting to see my Outlook, some information going into my Teams activity feed. And for me, I don't need that information. So I want to be able to customize my notifications more. And so what you're able to do is, in the notifications area, you should see a ... or ellipsis in the upper right corner when you go over, let's say, for instance, that Outlook information. So what I want to do is I'll go in there and click on that, say, don't show me any more Outlook messages in my Teams notification area, right? So that is an option that should be coming here shortly. Make sure this is another one, you make sure people get that, because they're inundated with notifications all the time. Yeah, customization, that's really where it is, to be able to quiet that down a little bit. Along that same guise, in the channels themselves, this is another one coming out here late January to February, this Discover Feed in Channels. And this is going to be a little button you're going to see when you're in the Teams area. that allows you to click on that and you can see notifications, things that activities that are happening. And by the way, you can then customize that. I don't want to see notifications from a certain person or in this certain group, right? You can then customize that feed, that Discover feed, so it's easier to be able to get that and give feedback. If you think a post is not useful, down thumb it, right? So that it doesn't come back up again. Those types of things. Again, another update, you want to make sure your end users know what's going on. All right, some quick mentions that I want to throw out here too, and a lot of little things happening. Well, a lot of things happening in general, just a kind of continuation of that. The one thing I want to mention, or a couple things I want to mention, is the secure store recommendations. Score recommendations, apologies for that. If you don't see this right now, it's actually made some updates, and they've actually made some changes as far as the recommendations that they would make based off of industry standards. Okay, so if you haven't been in the secure score section within Microsoft 365, please do so, because they had a nice list. It was like 15, 20 different things that had changed on the secure store recommendation. Also, for those who are using Teams Live Event, so if you guys are familiar, Teams Live Event for the longest time had certain capacity capabilities, 20K for attendees, 50 simultaneous events, and 16-hour event duration. Well, that actually lapsed in December. Well, this Message Center post says, yeah, guess what? We're extending it to June 30th of 2024. Keep in mind, though, Teams Live Event will be going away, will be sunsetting in September of this year. So keep that in mind. You want to start thinking about, yes, great, use Teams Live Event for now. Start thinking about the town hall capabilities that are within Teams so that you can then do more with that before Teams Live Event goes away. And as I was mentioning, there's more that came out from the Teams Live Event side of things. From that, I think we have somebody maybe unmuted. Just make sure you guys are muted. Thank you. So some more support coming with Teams, new Teams, right? New Teams versus the classic Teams. I was mentioning that, and new Teams is finishing or is getting flipped over here at the end of March. But support for Teams Live Event, we have things like the organizer has not been able to do anything, and that's being added in mid-January. In late March, we're going to get the producer to be able to do things within Teams Live Events. Okay, so that's important. Obviously, we need that before the new Teams is stable, right, and is now available. So keep that in mind. Some things around RSVP status as far as your chat integration, being able to, if you see that, if you've said I'm going to a meeting, then you're going to start seeing the chats in your message in your activity feed or even in your chat. Especially if you want that, but you can then say, no, I don't want to see that information in there. Or if you have declined that meeting, it will automatically not do those chats. Where some people, I get those every once in a while where, hey, I'm not actually in that meeting. Or if I say tentative, then it will show those chats anyways. Well, you can set that in the settings in Teams now to say, oh, if it's tentative, I don't want to see those chat messages. Some new things about API with Microsoft Graph and the Viva Engage community to be able to create a community. Turning off Teams meeting feedback surveys for unauthenticated users. I think that's an important one for some of those that are going to meetings. You can then choose, by the way, it's on by default to be able to have an unauthenticated user provide feedback. If you chose not to, you then have PowerShell scripts to be able to handle that. Some user experience for multi-tenant organization users. Please check that if you have multi-tenant set up within your organization. And then some simplifications on the Teams creation process is also happening. And make sure you take a look at that. That is an end user change. You're going to see some things that are different when they're creating a new team. And again, that is if you have team self-creation set up, right? So self-serve creation is set up for that. As I was mentioning, the updated messages, by the way, the whole left-hand side, this is what I was talking about, that all these have the exact same date when they were supposed to go and now are scheduled to go. And they're all teams related, right? So it seems to me like the end of the year, things kind of get pushed back a little bit. And so things that were early December or to late January now was early January, so they have more time to be able to get these out. Things like loop components in channels, or being able to join a Teams live event on a Teams Windows on Android meeting room, those types of things. So keep those in mind. Those dates have pushed, as well as a couple ones with Whiteboard. Another one I want to call out too is that we did announce back at Ignite this whole Microsoft Backup 365 capability. That is getting pushed for preview. That is getting pushed back for delivery if you're planning on doing that. That is for Exchange Online, that is for SharePoint, and that is for OneDrive. So keep that in mind. As well as things like on-demand recording for webinars, that got moved. The file app updating to OneDrive app, which is a significant change, right? That's a physical icon in Teams that's going to change over. That is getting pushed out as well. And then the new gallery for Teams meetings, that's the look and feel that's going to be different as far as the view and how things are displayed within the Teams meeting. That is getting adjusted as well, but that's getting pushed back to a later date. And as far as admin actions, these are the ones that we've talked about in the past. Things like the new Teams default, that's happening March 31st, 2024. Stream retirement, keep that one in mind. That's when the classic stream will be retired and all your videos will be deleted. So make sure you're looking to that message center post to get the updates and make sure that you are ready for that changeover. Teams live event retirement, I mentioned about that. And then the one I added is the retiring of the Delve web capability. So if you remember Delve way back when it came out, really is that focus, that epicenter for that person. And I saw somebody reacted like they were totally surprised by it. Yeah, I know. The post actually goes through and does a really good job of talking about, well, all these things are out there, right? All these capabilities are out there in different areas, right? For instance, about that person is all going to be in the profile cards in the first place. So you're going to get a lot of that information there. So there is a lot of alternatives as far as using Delve. So keep that in mind. The information is there, is just going to be dispersed into other areas. And I'm not going to talk about InfoPath. So with that,
why not, Don?
I know, it's like every month I have to say the